Everything in Hollywood looks polished on the outside, but behind the scenes, the relationships that seem the strongest are the ones cracking the fastest. And this week, the chaos is coming from every direction. Whispers inside the Jonas Circle say the brothers aren't just a little tense. There's a growing split that insiders insist has been brewing for months. At the same time, Sweeney's love life just took a turn so suspicious that even her most loyal fans are confused. And while everyone's trying to figure that out, Rihanna and ASAP Rocky might have pulled off something huge without anyone noticing. These stories couldn't be more different, but they all collide in one place: Hollywood's obsession with secrecy, jealousy, and unexpected alliances. And the deeper you look, the more you realize none of these people are living the lives they pretend to. The tension around the Jonas brothers didn't explode overnight. It's been quietly simmering beneath every rehearsal, every backstage interaction, every carefully staged smile. People close to the tour say the shift became obvious the moment Joe stepped into a single era. Suddenly, cameras weren't following the group. They were trailing Joe through Paris nightlife, Miami clubs, and a string of mystery encounters that kept fans guessing. And while Joe's new freedom turned him into the internet's favorite unpredictable pop star, Nick felt the spotlight sliding away from him one headline at a time. Insiders claim Nick has always liked being seen as a polished, controlled leading brother, but there's no competing with someone who's living like he's 21 again. Joe's chaos sells, his nightlife sells. Even the rumors, especially the unverified ones about partying and wild behavior, keep him at the center of every conversation. And for Nick, that shift cuts deeper than anyone realized. Joe's return to single life didn't just change the way fans saw him. It completely rewired the energy around the band. The moment his divorce drama cooled down and people stopped choosing sides, Joe slipped right back into the kind of chaos that makes headlines without even trying. Reports claim he's been saying yes to every late-night invite, every spontaneous flight, every after-party that keeps him surrounded by new faces and louder speculation. And because he's no longer tied to the family man narrative, he's playing into it with zero hesitation. Witnesses who've seen him out say he moves like someone making up for lost time, blending into dimly lit Miami lounges one night and dancing on tables with industry friends the next. That Miami trip especially caught people's attention. Not because he was with Bad Bunny, but because of the mystery woman hovering around him all night. No name, no context, just a shadow in a tight circle of flashes and whispers. And even though nothing about that moment has been confirmed, the internet ran with it instantly, pushing Joe into a different kind of spotlight. Meanwhile, Nick's lifestyle couldn't be more opposite. Married, reserved, and often described as hyper-controlled, he doesn't give the media anything to work with. So every time Joe does something unpredictable, Nick gets pushed further down the sidebar of his own story. Even crew members on tour have noticed a shift. They say Joe arrives buzzing with stories from the night before, while Nick shows up stiff, quiet, and barely making eye contact. That imbalance only intensifies the tension, because Joe's spontaneity isn't just overshadowing the music. It's reshaping the dynamic inside the band in a way Nick can't compete with. Sweeney's night out started like something harmless. Dinner with friends, a casual outfit, and a simple plan to head home afterward. But what happened next sent the internet into a spiral. After leaving the restaurant in Santa Monica, Sydney got into an Uber SUV like any normal person trying to slip away unnoticed. That part made sense. What didn't make sense was what came after. Witnesses say the ride lasted only a few blocks before she suddenly got out and transferred into a second vehicle, one driven by her ex-fiancé, Jonathan Davino. That car switch is what ignited everything. If you're dating someone new, especially someone as high-profile as Scooter Braun, why take an Uber to secretly meet your ex in another car? And why hide your face the moment you get in? Fans immediately started dissecting photos frame by frame, pointing out how she ducked her head, covered her eyes, and refused to look at paparazzi even for a second. Nothing about her body language gave casual catch-up. It gave "don't let anyone see this." Reports claim the situation got even messier once they reached her home. Jonathan didn't go inside, but neighbors allegedly heard Sydney yelling things like, "I don't believe you and leave me alone," which only added more layers to an already suspicious night. No one knows what the argument was about, but the entire encounter looked chaotic enough to spark rumors that her past with Jonathan isn't as over as people thought. Of course, none of the cheating talk is confirmed. Everything being said online is speculation fueled by photos and fragments from people who happen to be nearby. But the real question everyone is asking is why she met him at all, especially in a way that seemed designed to avoid being seen. Even fans who adore her admit the sequence of events looks messy. And when someone's trying hard to stay private, it only makes people want to dig deeper. Because whether this was an emotional conversation, unfinished business, or something else entirely, it didn't look innocent and it didn't look accidental. The fallout from Sydney's late-night car switch didn't take long to explode online. By the next morning, the photos were everywhere, and the narrative had already shifted from curiosity to full-blown suspicion. Fans weren't just confused, they were genuinely torn. Some insisted the entire situation looked like a messy, emotional moment with an ex she hasn't fully cut ties with. Others argued that the paparazzi caught a very specific, very unlucky slice of her night that made everything appear worse than it actually was. But the pattern that stood out most was how quickly people began questioning where Scooter Braun fits into all of this. Scooter's reputation isn't exactly gentle, and because of that, every move Sydney makes gets dissected under a much harsher lens. Rumors suggest their relationship already raised eyebrows behind the scenes, with some people close to her quietly wondering whether the dynamic feels imbalanced. So when Sydney suddenly appeared in the car with her ex, hiding her face, ducking down, and looking visibly stressed, it instantly sparked new theories. Was she comforting Jonathan? Was he confronting her? Was she trying to prevent Scooter-related drama by handling something privately? Nobody actually knows, but the lack of answers only made the story spread faster. What truly amplified everything were the final few seconds before Jonathan drove away. Witnesses claiming to have heard fragments of their argument painted a picture that felt raw and unresolved. And when Sydney walked inside without giving any kind of statement afterward, the silence only fueled more speculation. The internet hates gaps in the story, and this one had too many. For fans who have followed Sydney for years, the entire situation feels jarringly off-brand. She's usually careful, composed, and unproblematic, not someone who ends up in shadowy late-night moments that look straight out of a scandal reel. But this incident reminded everyone that Hollywood relationships are never as clean as they appear. Whether this was a misinterpreted moment or the start of something deeper, one thing became undeniable. Sydney's night didn't just raise questions. It created a mystery that isn't fading anytime soon. While Sydney's situation had everyone questioning motives and hidden intentions, another couple was sparking a completely different kind of speculation. Not scandal, but secrecy. Rihanna and ASAP Rocky have always kept their relationship tucked behind a velvet curtain, revealing only what they choose. But this time, it wasn't a leaked photo or a blurry paparazzi clip stirring the conversation. It was ASAP himself, casually dropping a word that sent fans into detective mode. Husband. During a recent interview, he referred to himself not just as a partner or father, but as Rihanna's husband. And he said it with the kind of confidence that didn't feel like a slip. It felt intentional. This wasn't the first time he hinted at something private happening behind the scenes. Just last month, when asked if he was ready for marriage, he responded with, "How do you know I'm not already a husband?" Those comments weren't brushed off as jokes. Fans saw them as clues. What makes the rumor even more believable is the way they move as a family. Their bond has shifted from glamorous celebrity couple to something more intimate, more domestic, more grounded. They share 3 children, RZA, Wright, and newborn Rocky, and ASAP has been vocal about how much fatherhood inspires him. He talks about family like it's the core of his identity now, not an accessory for interviews. So when he uses the word husband, people listen. Of course, nothing has been officially confirmed. There's no public record, no ceremony photos, and Rihanna hasn't said a word. She's the type who would disappear for a year and come back with an album, a baby, and a wedding ring, all in one post. Fans know she plays by her own rules. Still, the timing feels intentional. When someone that private chooses to hint at something so major, it usually means the truth is sitting just beneath the surface. Whether they quietly tied the knot or are simply enjoying letting people guess, one thing is clear. Rihanna and ASAP are operating in their own universe, and they're in no rush to let the world in. If Rihanna and ASAP Rocky are the couple keeping fans guessing with quiet confidence, Keke Palmer is the one pushing her truth straight into the spotlight, whether people like it or not. After months of headlines, legal battles, accusations, and internet chaos, Keke has reached a point where silence is no longer an option. And this time, she's addressing the situation surrounding her son, her mental health, and the version of motherhood she refuses to be shamed for. The drama with her ex, Darius Jackson, didn't just explode overnight. It simmered, leaked, and then erupted publicly when he criticized her outfit during her night out at the Usher concert. That moment became the catalyst for everything that followed. The custody fight, the restraining order, the emotional breakdowns, and the public reevaluation of who Keke Palmer really is behind the industry polish. Fans who had always seen her as the upbeat, charismatic child star were suddenly confronted with a woman dealing with real-world struggles under a global microscope. But Keke has never been someone who hides. Instead of shrinking, she stepped forward and started reclaiming the narrative brick by brick. Recently, she opened up about what she calls the most difficult and unexplainable period of her life. She revealed she has been going through stress so intense that it began affecting her weight, her work schedule, and even her voice. She described crying in her car between takes, holding herself together for her son, and then falling apart again the moment she closed the door. It was raw, vulnerable, and undeniably human. Yet even in that vulnerability, there's power. Keke made it clear that being a mother doesn't erase her individuality, her sexuality, or her right to make choices that feel authentic to her. That includes who she dates. She's been open that, yes, she has dated women, and no, she's not going to apologize for it. In an industry that demands labels for everything, Keke refuses to be boxed in. I'm me, she said. Sometimes that means I love a man. Sometimes that means I love a woman. But it always means I love myself first. That level of honesty, especially coming from someone who grew up under the scrutiny of the spotlight, resonated with millions. But the internet has a way of twisting vulnerability into ammunition. People have accused her of using her personal life for attention, or of sending mixed signals, or of playing victim. And still, she stands firm. She's not asking for sympathy. She's demanding respect. Respect as a mother. Respect as a performer. Respect as a woman navigating life after leaving a toxic relationship. Her story isn't polished. It's messy, confusing, emotional, and sometimes contradictory, just like real life. And that's why people are watching. Because Keke isn't performing anymore. She's telling her truth in real time, unfiltered, unedited, and unapologetic. And whether the public agrees with her or not, one thing is certain. She's done being silent. In a world where celebrities are picked apart piece by piece, this week's stories remind us of one thing. Fame doesn't protect anyone from heartbreak, confusion, or chaos. Sweeney is fighting for control of her own image. Rihanna and ASAP Rocky are quietly building their family on their own terms, marriage or not. And Keke Palmer is standing in the fire, refusing to let anyone rewrite her truth. Not the internet, not her ex, not the headlines. What we're seeing isn't just gossip. It's the reality behind the curated posts and public smiles. These are people navigating love, identity, and pressure with millions of eyes watching. And each one is choosing a different path. Secrecy, strength, vulnerability, independence. But one thing they all have in common, they're done pretending. Because at the end of the day, the truth always finds its way, whether whispered, hinted, or shouted out loud.